Hey, good morning, everybody. This morning, as I was walking to breakfast, because I tell you, ever since I started this channel way back in February, I have done a tremendous amount of walking. I mean, anytime I can walk instead of use a vehicle, I do it because it gets me centered and it gets all the blood flowing in my body so that my brain can think clearly and so on. But this morning, I walk about, and yes, I'm chewing. Hey, I'm human. I uh, I have an addiction to chewing tobacco, and I accept that. But yet, let's stop and think: is it really an addiction? It's a natural compound from the earth. I mean, judge me for what you will. I don't judge myself. I guarantee you, way, 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 way back, people have been smoking tobacco or smoking whatever, probably even herb. Well, actually, I know so. But anyway, as I was walking to breakfast, um, quite a distance, I passed people on the sidewalk, people walking to work or whatever. And every single person I said, "Good morning," and I was cheerful. Only a few responded back. Majority of everybody wouldn't make eye contact and they just kept walking by. And I thought, wow, that's kind of like living in a world of zombies anymore because of people and their fear. But the interesting thing was, anyone that was homeless that I said it to, they were cheerful and they were happy. And they, told me good morning. But as I was walking back, I just, was thinking about everything. I was thinking about, hey, I'm getting ready to leave the country. I was thinking about everything that I've done within this country in my entire life. I mean, honestly, I've done everything I could to prove to my country that I'm a good person. And especially to my family, but ultimately I ended up realizing I was trying to prove it to myself. And when I, on Saturday, went to the four people that are the, you know, close relatives or whichever, the four people that would show up to talk to me the last time before I leave the country. And potentially, there's a good chance I'm not coming back. I just wanted to explain to them why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm doing it because I love. And I know that my job as a parent is to try to be the best teacher I possibly can be. And what I've been trying to do is truly teach the world that, hey, we gotta wake up. One of the four people said, you almost said that you're Jesus Christ. And I looked at her and I said, almost. I said, I'm not Jesus. Almost. But yet she's also admitted that, she just recently joined the church. She hasn't been religious or anything like that. But yet she judged me. And I assure all of you, I am nothing. I am what I am. That's it. I'm in the place I need to be with my God. And all I've been trying to do this whole time is get you guys to recognize that the brain does always look at the negative first and try to help you guys figure out how to unlock your brain so that for your own self, you can actually listen to scriptures, listen to your Bible, whatever it is. It's not my place to judge. I don't know. The only person in the world that knows your truths is you, between you and your creator, whatever you want to call it. I mean, we think about it, we call the Creator generally accepted God, but yet when he was asked what we call him, that's not what he said. But I am not going to quote scriptures ever, because one thing that keeps sticking in my mind is the wisest man is one who says the least, and actually the least about scriptures. He listens. That's why I went into the woods and listened to the entire New Testament, so that I could know the truths between me and my God. The person, the entity, whatever you want to call it, that refers to himself as I am that I am. And how did I understand the truths? Is because I listened to who refers to himself as the Son of Man. And I understand that, yes, that is the key. Written in riddles, so that the unwise person, the one who's looking at the negative first, won't understand the riddles. A very important person to me on Saturday said, "What goes in the mouth does not defile a man, but what comes out does." That's why I will not quote scripture. But the person who said that to me knows way less about what the scriptures say than I do, because that person has not even listened to them. He's allowed a non-conscious human being to tell him what they mean. I'll judge, okay. I understand. But as I'm sitting and I look at these four people, and I ask them, you all knew that there had been 2 attempts on my life, and that the police, Corvallis Police Department in Oregon, I mean, in my documentary, you guys can look for yourself. There's rock solid evidence of what happened. Even interviews with the police where they admit that they did wrong. Dana. Anyway, and the fact that Good Samaritan Health Services emergency room in Corvallis, Oregon, did an illegal mental health assessment on me. I even show you guys a medical record where there's rock solid proof that they even admit that what I said I was there for was not what they did. But, who am I to tell you your truths? You have to look for yourself and listen for yourself. But as I asked everybody, why in the world did none of you ask if there was anything you could possibly do for me to keep me alive? And they all just looked dumbfounded. They had no answer. And then the leading person said, "Well, I talked to your neighbor, Matt and Bonnie, and they said they don't believe it." Okay, well, first off, you don't even really know Matt and Bonnie at all. And you would take their word over mine, considering a month prior to this documentary, or this channel, you said that you thought that I was one of the best people on earth. Isn't that rather interesting? That you would take the word of somebody, and Matt clearly brags about how much of a pessimist he is. He's proud of it. And he almost got angry with me before I moved out of the neighborhood because I was talking about spiritual stuff. And he said he didn't want to hear that spiritual crap. So I stopped talking about it, and I did say, hey, well, if you don't want to hear that, this is reality. Why don't you go ahead and look up whether or not they're finding pyramids under pyramids under pyramids. I said this way before. Proof is coming out. But anyways, I am literally the son of James. I'm not saying I'm a prophet or anything like that. By no means. I am just me. And I am proud of who I am. I'm proud of what I've accomplished in my life. I'm proud of how I got my children out of a horrible situation, even though because of all the negative in their brain, they don't even realize it. And I'm proud of how I did stick around and I didn't abandon my mother and father like my sister did. I stayed with my mother and I felt her heart stop. Time even stopped. Literally, the grandfather clock behind us stopped for 10 minutes. People noticed it, and then it instantly fixed its time, which is literally impossible. But nobody wants to recognize that. Just like the thermal imaging of me meditating, nobody in the world wants to recognize that. First time ever recorded in the world. But out of our own fears, out of our brain looking at the negative first, you guys aren't even really able to see what happened. And when it comes to knowing the truth, knowing eternal life or whatever you want to call it, you guys aren't even conscious enough to hear the truths. Because if you do wake yourself up and force yourself to find the positive within everything that's said, but also recognize the negative, because you have to have negative within the positive in your life experience. Otherwise, you don't learn anything. Truth, generally accepted is the forbidden fruit is the apple, but yet we all love apples. Ironically, I never have baseball or apple pie. Never liked it. Say I'm un-American. Okay. I'm okay with that. Because there, in my eyes, is no countries. In my eyes, we are one big family. We are descendants of the other. Look at our DNA. Go all the way back to the beginning. Undeniable, right? But because of our own fears, because the fear of losing our comforts, the fear of having to face our own truths, we choose to believe an observation that fits our needs the best. Hence, all the different religions. I respect them all. I know that every single religion in the world has some God in it. Otherwise, your brain wouldn't be able to believe it. Your heart wouldn't be able to believe it. Now think about it. Everything in the world has some God in it. But yet, we constantly think we're an individual because we came in this world by ourselves and will go out of this world by ourselves. But is that true? Why do you believe that? Because a non-conscious human told you that? Or do you believe it because of your Bibles? That's not what the riddles told me. This generation will be here until the very end. We will see everything. All the things you don't want to. And what I believe, because of what I heard, is that those of us that wake up early enough, the amount of the horrendous experience that we will have to suffer will be shortened. And I believe that with my whole entire being. Because my pain and my suffering has already ended. Why? Because I love myself, and why would I allow myself to feel that way? Because my brain works for my soul. Rock solid, you know, you can't even argue with that. You can try to say, oh, well, such and such proved that. The only truths in this world are between you and your creator, your universe, your God, whatever you decide. It's not my place to judge. It's not my place to tell you. It's your place to find out for yourself. And all I've been trying to do through this channel is get you guys to understand how I was able to get to this point. I mean, if you truly stop and think about everything I have done, I've admitted to the entire world all my sins. And the purer I try to become, the more it brings out the evil in the other people. This is why I have decided to leave the country. Now, in doing so, I am having to leave behind things that I had purchased on loans. But now when I purchased these things, every single person I dealt with, I explained to them that I was doing a documentary all the way around the world. I was giving away all my personal items. I was literally cashing out of the system. I wouldn't even have an address because I was choosing to be a homeless transient. The majority of all of them said, oh, don't worry about it. We'll just use your old address. Because they were thinking out of greed. They wanted to sell. I wanted to pay. I wanted to, you know, pay off all the loans. Fortunately, it's not illegal if you can't pay your bills. The reason why I couldn't even get to how I paid to pay my bills was, one, I don't even know how to contact them. Two, I can't establish an address because there's been 2 attempts on my life and the Corvallis Police Department did absolutely nothing. Now, there is one tire company, that, you know, well-known retailer of tires, that I went in there, and you can see it back in the documentary, and I explained what I was doing, and they gave me love, they gave me grace, and I even gave them t-shirts and thanked them for it. And I said, do I need to, you know, sign a contract or anything? He said, no, don't worry about it. You know, you've been a good customer, you're doing a good thing. Then he proceeded, the manager proceeded to tell me about how my next door neighbor, who actually happened to be city councilman at one time, and this loving woman also has been one who has been very involved in trying to get the world to accept other races. Well, she's been battling cancer. And he proceeded to dog her out, telling me how he had to go to her twice because she wouldn't make her payments, you know, all of these things, and just cutting her down. A woman that's fighting for her life, that has been a good person. I never had an ounce of problem living next to her the whole entire time. I did inform her of what was being said behind her back because I felt it was her right to know. And since then, all of a sudden now this tire company is trying to get a hold of me saying that I owe them money. Wow, you saw it totally different than I saw it. And why, even stop and think, why did you not have me sign a contract or anything? That just doesn't even make sense. But hey, if you want your tires back, the 2 houses over, the house that looked just like my house, Matt has them. He also has the axle, you know, because I didn't want it. I didn't feel it was right. There was negative energy attached to it because I knew that you were not in a good spot when you gave it to me. Anytime you were willing to talk negatively about a person that's battling cancer, that has children, and she's raising her kids by herself. To me, that's just not right. So I gave it away. And I'm sure you could go there and get them back. And Matt, what did you base that it didn't happen on? What evidence did you have that there was not 2 attempts on my life? You never even watched the videos that have the rock solid proof that it happened. I think you based it off your own guilt. Because it was easier for you to say that than it was to accept the fact that not a single person in the United States has tried to help keep me alive. If anything, everybody's worked strong to try to prove that I'm not telling the truth, that I'm lying, that I'm mentally ill. Good Samaritan Health Services, emergency room, and the whole entire corporation. I've corresponded with you guys a lot. And just so you don't know the law, let me help point it out for you. It is illegal to force a mental health on somebody without a court order. And in order to have a court order, there has to be a history of physical abuse, the intent to harm someone, the intent to harm yourself, anything like that. And you based it all off a mentally ill person's word. And you brought horrendous negativity towards me. The burglary. Because of all this, because of you doing that, it put me in the system to where people that wanted me dead because of my time in Ukraine were able to find me. Either that or Ashley Strobel and my eldest daughter, Alexis, literally wanted to kill me. I mean, there's a reason why the main thing Ashley kept asking me while I was gone on the 4 days going around the United States, or going in a big loop just because I had to get away. And this was right after the mental health assessment. The main thing Ashley Strobel kept asking me was, can I be in your house? And I never answered her. I never gave her permission. I told everybody to stay out of my house. Then she kept asking me, where's your will? Because she knew that she was the sole inheritant to every single thing I had. I mean, sure, you can stop and think, well, okay. But realize, as soon as she got back from Oregon, and keep in mind, she left immediately after I posted representation of crucifixion from a conscious perspective, where I say I would never harm myself or anybody else. It's only for entertainment purposes only. She and everybody else saw the negative first. They saw what they wanted to, what their brain wanted to see. They saw me committing suicide. My whole entire family, I begged all of them. Prior to posting that video, I said, hey, please, you guys, please, someone tell me you love me. Show me any form of support. I even sent them a picture of a man where his whole head is just light. You can't even see his face. I sent them so many indicators that, hey, if you don't show me some love, I let their brain think that I was possibly going to do something negative. But yet, not a single one of them showed me an ounce of support. They wanted to tell me how I was mentally ill, how I was bipolar, how all these negative things. Well, isn't that the worst thing you could do if you think somebody is quote unquote suicidal? Absolutely. Because I know that people in this world that are suicidal, It's because of all the negative in their brain. Their brain cannot handle it anymore. And honestly, all they need to do is start waking up and feeling their creator within, their truths within. You know, but hey, who am I? I just some dumb guy, you know, that happened to literally give up my life. One, because, I mean, 2 attempts trying to take it. Actually, when you look at what transpired through this channel ever since February, you will see there hasn't just been 2 attempts on my life. What Ashley Strobel and what my eldest daughter Alexis did, and how my family didn't do anything, or any of my friends do anything whatsoever to try to help protect me, you could say there's been way more than just 2 attempts on my life. Sure, 2 physical attempts, but what about the attempts of trying to destroy every ounce of good I've been in my life? Even if it's simply by trying to say I'm mentally ill. If you recognize the positive in everything I've done, how can you possibly say I'm mentally ill? I mean, I even have scriptures to back up what I'm doing as being the right thing. And the truth is, everybody in society that continues to look at the negative first, even had a police officer from Corvallis Police Department point this out. Every single person that chooses to continue to look at the negative first and not find the positive within everything is mentally ill. Right? What mental illness finds the positive in everything and will only accept the positive? None. What mental illness always looks at the negative first and obsesses on the negative and has a really hard time finding the positive within that negative? Every single one of them. So now ask yourself, is it time for you to stop lying to yourself? Stop feeling sorry for yourself. And start loving yourself. Because if you truly love yourself, you will not accept the negative, because the only person in the world that is hurting is yourself. You know, when I woke up, and by the way, the first doorway that got open was from the most important human in my life, because I begged him to please just watch 8 little episodes so that he could know who I am from a spiritual perspective, how my brain and everything thinks. And that cartoon is Midnight Gospel. And you know, Saturday he said, I'm not listening to that spiritual crap. Well, to you I say, it's not what goes in your mouth that defiles you. It's what comes out. But I'm all but positive he won't even listen to this video, because he has not listened to anything I have said. He is only judged. But I told them, I know exactly why everything played out exactly how it did, why nobody in the world has tried to help me, has said, hey, what can I do to help? There was the YouTuber dude, super cool dude. Unfortunately, I kept telling him over and over again, make sure that you're not doing this out of greed. And then once I heard the amount of money he wanted to help me, at that point I knew that I needed to do this by myself. And actually, scriptures reassured it, because I took that all of the disciples, the followers, at the very end betrayed him. Except I'm not clear about Mary Magdalene. It's not actually clarified. So what that tells me in my heart, that was his feminine half. She could not abandon him. And I think it's awesome, the fact that the world wants to feel that she was a prostitute. And even if she was, you know why I think it's awesome? Because what I know is the people in this world that have gone through the worst, and I guarantee you a prostitute has gone through some of the worst. But I know the people who have gone through the worst end up being some of the best people on earth, because they don't want other people to have to feel what they feel. And to me, that's unconditional and deserving love. Yeah. But hey, as I go travel around the world, I'm not going to preach. All I'm going to do is try to get people to wake up so they can find their own truths between their Bibles, their God, whatever it is, just so that they can stop thinking from the negative first and find the positive within the negative and allow the negative to recognize itself. And issues of artificial intelligence that are, already in the making, that are going to keep getting more and more. I know how to shut it down, how to reverse it. A super cool dude that I believe in my whole heart what he's doing. He said to me that we have to have God within AI to fix it. And I told him I agree 100%. And this is a very famous YouTuber. And I also said, I know how to get God in the algorithm. Not because I'm a prophet, not because I'm anything special. I can't tell you what I am because you wouldn't listen anyway. You will decide what I am, who's speaking through me, if someone else is speaking through me, whatever. All I can do is spend the rest of my life as a human trying to give the most unconditional and deserving love to the entire world. And why am I willing to do that? Because I love myself and I love my God, and I believe that the only truths in this world are positive. And it comes back to the real love, not this artificial love that all of us think. This artificial love that majority of what you see in society is simply a measurement of how much pleasure one can give another. This is why we have issue of within a relationship people feel ownership. This is why a lot of parents feel ownership over their children. It's because they don't have the unconditional, undeserving love. And I know why, because they don't love themselves that way like they should, like everything says that we should. And the most important thing that I caught from the scriptures, from actually listening to them on an audiobook, the absolute most important thing is to believe the Holy Spirit within. Bingo! Because that's where your truths come from. You know, I'm not upset. I'm at total peace. I mean, you think about it, I'm going to another country with absolutely minimum. And all I want to do is give love, and I won't even let them know my name. Because that's real love. Real love doesn't want anything in return. Real love doesn't judge. Real love accepts. Because we're all, from the 10% of the brain perspective, the illusion, the negative first, we're all juveniles until we start loving ourselves. Therefore, anybody in the world that hurts you is less awake than you are. They are an infant. I told the most important male human, to me, when he was tearing up because I was having to help him figure out how to use a cell phone. I told him, I said, there's a point in life when the child has to become the parent, because the brain starts calcifying and starts narrowing itself down to where it can't remember, it can't hear, the truths and so on. Well, I also know most important part of a parent is to teach. And this is why I've done this channel, is to try to help anybody, try to teach anybody in the world that wants to get to their truths and wants to purge all the negative, to teach you how to do it. But nobody can force you to listen. And for that, I empathize tremendously. I know what I feel in my heart. I know the amount of peace. I know how clear everything really is when you wake up. Yeah, so I will be doing what I can to try to help get what is left back to the creditors. That's all I can do, I like my Toyota Sequoia. I mean, I put down, through my trade-in, I put down way more than I've used of the vehicle, so we should totally, plus I put upgrades and everything on it to help, carry what I need to carry. So we should be good there. Any creditors that feel I did them wrong, I apologize. I literally was just trying to stay alive. This is why I've been on the move nonstop, but yet nobody has stopped and thought about that. Everyone wanted to believe that it wasn't true. But if you would step back and look at the positive of what I was doing, try to figure out, okay, wait, how does this make sense? You would see that I've acted exactly how a person is trying to stay alive. I have rock solid paperwork, channel, proving everything. And I am leaving that behind in a very secure place. In the event that I do end up coming back to the States, in the event that I have to come back and protect my children, I have prepared everything in an undisclosed place that I will have the ability to protect them. I mean, shoot, look at my training. Look at what I did in Ukraine. You know, all of these things. I don't want to fight. I don't want to argue. All I literally want to do is give love. But scriptures told me, don't do it in your own country. So I will be, seeing the poorest parts of the world. And I might not be able to do much, simply give purified water. But I will do what I can. Now ask yourself, are you doing what you can to make the world a better place without feeling sorry for yourself, without justifying, without trying to protect your comforts? Your comforts, are you feeling sorry for yourself? Because there is no better comfort in this world than getting rid of all your possessions and helping the ones who need it the most. But hey, wow, looking down at the screen, there's nothing in here that would be changing anything. There's no fluorescent, nothing. But yet it is rather interesting from my perspective. When I look at my screen, I keep seeing different changes that are happening. I pointed that out many times before. And I will say one thing before I finish. Nancy, you are truly projecting all of your mental health issues on me, and you don't even realize it. You go from cutting me down to the worst way you possibly can, and then the very next text message you say, I love you and I miss you. Girl, read your own text messages that you sent to me. Evaluate your own actions and realize that all along the reason why you haven't heard anything I've said is because you keep looking at the negative first, and that negative is your own mental health issues. But so did the bartender at the Peacock. He did the same thing. I've seen this all along. I understand. Do I look right now manic? Do I look, depressed? Do I look suicidal? Do I look any of these things? No. You know why? Because I haven't been all along. I just loved you guys enough to allow you to see that my truths transpire. You've seen my appearance change tremendously over the last, 7.5 months. It might be interesting to see exactly how long it's been. Because I know numbers do play a role, because all of us accept them. I know that every single memory that's still in your brain, there is a positive and a truth within that, and that is your God telling you what you need to know. All the movies that are stuck in your brain, all the cliches, all that stuff, there's very important messages when you look at the positive, what transpired from that. It's actually really cool once you start doing it. It's not something to be scared of. I guarantee you, you'll keep going. Wow. Or, kind of like when you smash your finger, you'll be saying, God, Jesus. Or, the other most energizing thing in the world, the F word. Let's think about it. If you need to get to sleep, or if you need to relieve stress or whatever, that is a great way. But unfortunately, the negative first wants us to feel guilt, wants us to worship, wants us all of these things about the three most important things in your existence. The F word, actually, think about it, gives life. You can feel, if you truly love a person, that is something amazing. But now ask yourself, if it's real, then why is it called making love? Unless it's simply a matter of how much pleasure we can give one another. Good question, right? But I could continue on and on and on. But you can't force anybody to listen. You have to choose to know your own truths. I love you guys. And I'm sure I'll probably talk again before I leave, or I will record and post it as soon as I leave. Because I know for rock solid proof and my truths, I know there has been 2 attempts on my life. And I know none of you non-conscious people in the world are able to even believe or care. If you would, or if you had, why is the thermal imaging of me meditating some of the absolute least viewed videos that I've posted? Because you're scared.